I feel like
Yeah,
Lainey Wilson said it best. She said it at the ACMs. I can't remember what she won. It was one of her many awards, but she said, "If you're gonna be a dreamer, you better be a doer." And I was like, "Period."
love
I get that.
it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Anissa Tova, and today we're diving into the world of music with the sensational MaRynn Taylor. Now, listen, she's a dynamo. I am so impressed. She's a rising star in the country music scene whose tracks like Small Town Spinnin' are capturing hearts. From her debut at the iconic Grand Ole Opry to performing at major NFL games, her journey is really inspiring. And I can't really wait to dive in because her beginnings they literally started when she was a very, very, very young girl and she never stopped. So, MaRynn, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It is a true pleasure. I know we spoke a little bit, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better. Um, let's start. I like to take it way back. Let's go to where it all started. So tell me, you were a little girl and you said you always loved music.
Yeah. I've always loved music. For some reason, I got the bug at a really young age, and I started like really wanting CDs, like my own CDs, and I just fell in love with like Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood, like the really like hit makers of the 2000s in country music. I just gravitated towards and Jody Messina, Trisha Yearwood. I wanted to be just like them, especially the girls in country, you know. And so yeah, I my first concert was like Hannah Montana, and I just loved music so much, and I never stopped.
You have not stopped. That is such a focus. Was there someone in your family that was in the industry? Was it just you listening to music that had such a profound impact on you? I mean, how
Yeah.
did you just really?
It was just me. I really fell in love with it, and I practiced guitar. I learned on YouTube. And then I had like vocal lessons, like choir vocal lessons, but that's about it. I fell so deeply in love with it, and it was the one thing, like, especially in school and stuff, like, I didn't have a lot of friends, and, of course, country's cool at the moment right now, but when I was younger, it kinda wasn't, especially in Michigan where I grew up, and
Mm,
so, a lot of kids thought I was odd. So,
yeah.
I would go home and I would sit with my guitar and I'd write songs, and that was, like, my happy place.
Wow, so that was your outlet. Um,
Mhm.
so you learned guitar on YouTube and you started writing
Yeah.
songs. How was the writing then different than what your songs are about now, or was it?
It was very different. I feel like now being in Nashville, I've written with so many inspirational artists and songwriters. So I have a good grasp on it now. Whereas when I was younger, I was just writing a bunch of feelings out and being emo and just complaining about stuff and school and how girls can be mean or like boys I had crushes on. And I mean, I still write about those things. But I do still write about, like, my life, but just right now it's about being a girl in her early 20s figuring life out.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that. Like, what does the process look like of writing a song? Do you have like a
Yeah.
ritual?
I mean, I don't know if I have a ritual. I try to keep my mornings really clear. Um, Sometimes that's not always the case because I am an artist and sometimes I have things going on, but what I like to do is, like, get up at a good time, eat some breakfast, maybe listen to some music or, like, do yoga, meditate. Reading really helps me. I don't know why, just all the words in my head, I guess that kind of helps when you're writing a song. Um, but I just try to, make it peaceful, especially so that when I do enter a write, it's there's not a bunch of things in my head, I can really focus on what I wanna write about and who I'm writing with.
So it's almost like you get to the state of clarity.
Yeah.
M m meditation is interesting. I used to be able just to go from when I was learning meditation, okay, now I'm really gonna tune out all the noise and get rid of all the thoughts. Now it's like, mm-mm, I have to think about some creative idea. So now I have a project. So when I sit down
Mm.
and meditate, it's like, okay, I'm trying to resolve this. Let's focus on that. So
Yeah.
how do you find meditation? What is that like for you?
I think it's just a moment of letting myself breathe. Um,
Mm,
and that can be a lot of different things. Like I love white noise. Like when I sleep,
mhm.
that was like my
Yeah.
Spotify Wrapped was my white noise. And I'll sometimes turn that on and just let my brain chill for a second. Cuz I mean, I'm a new artist, female in country music. There is a lot on my plate. So I like
Mhm.
to just forget about them for a second and just focus on who MaRynn is, being 22 and living in Nashville and, having friends and, how hard that can be at times or how fun that can be, and I just try and focus in on her and what she's going through instead of, like, because not a lot of people are doing this artist thing, I wanna be able
Yeah.
to connect to people who are my age, and, so I just try and push the business stuff out of the way and make way for, like, what's actually going on in my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, I think sometimes people just see the glitzy stuff on the outside, but they don't realize how
Yeah.
much work goes into it, and your life changes so
Yeah.
significantly. Like, tell me, okay, so you were on this track, you knew when you were a young girl, that's what you really wanted to do. But then
Yeah.
when did that leap happen? Like when you actually found yourself on a stage, like, wow, this is a big deal. I can actually make a living doing that. What was that transition like?
I feel like I was okay, so I was still in Michigan, and I was doing, like, little fair talent shows, and I was 12, and I auditioned for one, and they said no. And then I was really, really sad, and then when I was 15, I went back and I won it. So then at that moment, I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm, like, good, and maybe if I can work hard at this, I could really, like, do something with it," you know? And then I was 17, and I moved to Nashville, and I just kept working hard and proving to myself that, yeah, if you do work hard, if you love what you do, and yeah, then you can just do it. I feel like
Yeah.
Lainey Wilson said it best. She said it at the ACMs. I can't remember what she won. It was one of her many awards, but she said, "If you're gonna be a dreamer, you better be a doer." And I was like,
I
"Period."
love it.
I get that.
That's it, done. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, you're right. There's so many people just come up with ideas, they dream, never execute, never take it to the
Yeah.
next level. So you moved to Nashville. So what happens then?
Yeah, so I moved to Nashville, I was 17, and
Wow.
like I said, I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, and so when I came here, I found that a lot of people were just like me, kinda moving out of their, hometowns and trying to find a new start in Nashville, and luckily, I found those people too, and we bonded, and, where I found them was at CMA Fest, which is like a fanfare, festival in the first week of June in Nashville. And I went and I like met Lauren Elena in a meet and greet line, and I just saw like a bunch of artists that I loved on these stages everywhere. It's like so fun and so cool. And I ended up getting this like flyer that said 60-second spotlight. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And this label was putting it on, and Kelsey Ballerini was on the label. And I was like, okay, this is cool. So I go and find it.
Yeah.
I show up, and there's two ladies at the desk. And I was like, hey, can I sing for y'all? They were like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I'm 17. And they were like, "You have to be 18, sorry." And I was like,
Um,
"Well, I'm 5 years away from being 18, so I think it's fine." I'm like trying, pushing so hard to get in to sing these for
Yeah,
these
you're
people.
right.
And, finally they were like, "Alright, like, we'll go check and see if it's okay," and sure enough, I went inside and I sat on the stage and I sang for them, and then, I'm
Oh,
so thankful they ended up liking me and asking me a bunch of questions, and, that night I got to go to Nissan Stadium with them in their suite to see Kelsey perform at, like, CMA Fest, and, got to talk to all of these, like, label execs, and I was like I had no idea what was going on. I think I blacked out the
wow.
whole night. I was like, "What's happening right now?" And, fast forward to November, so that was, June 2019. November 2019 comes around, and, I'm on a radio show, called 6:50 AM Coffee, Country, and Cody. It's the Opry's radio station, and I got my record deal right then and there on the air in front of millions of people, and I cried like a baby. I was 18 then.
Oh,
So it all happened. I was really young, but I'm thankful it happened that way because it's a fun story to tell.
yeah, so quickly.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I have goosebumps, literally. I'm just it's seriously like you didn't just dream. You were so focused and you paved your way and you took the next
Yeah.
step and the next step and you didn't give up. You could have turned around and say, "Well, I'm not 18 yet." But no, you persevered.
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been like really scary for just you threw yourself in the unknown.
Yeah. For sure. And I feel like I wanted it so badly that and to make friends. Like I just wanted to be like my fun self. Like I didn't want to be shy MaRynn who was in Michigan anymore, and I was just really wanting to be this different or not different person, but just more elevated version of myself,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's what got me through the door.
Yeah, I like how you rephrased it because we get beat down, by people with their own stuff, and then sometimes you start believing it and you forget about who you are or what's deep
Yeah,
down inside, so you just needed to tap into what was already there to find your
mhm,
light, and you did. Yeah, how is that
100%.
now for all those for
It's
for all those
good.
people? Yeah, doubting you, right? It's like,
Yeah,
no,
like,
that's
"Oh."
yeah, exactly, I say, "Watch the
Yeah.
scoreboard." Yep. That is no,
Yeah,
and, we talked about it. I mean, you mentioned the social media has been really instrumental in helping
yeah,
you grow, right?
yeah. Oh, for sure, I feel like because I am 22, I am Gen Z, I do have a little
Yeah.
bit of a leg up because I kinda know what the deal is when it comes to social media, but still, it's like you look at the '90s and the artists didn't have to be, like, influencers, and now you kinda have to learn to do that,
Mm,
and so I'm still trying to learn how to do that, but I think the main thing is to just be yourself and learn what the platform is and, like, what does well, but bottom line is, like, post what you want, like, say what you want, talk to who you want to, and I do love talking to the people who support me, and anybody who reaches out, I try my best to reach back out because that's just important to me. Anybody who's gonna support me, I wanna be their friend, um, so it means a lot to me, especially through, like, COVID and stuff, sorry to say that,
mm,
throwback to
mm,
that, but, like,
yeah.
even through that, I still without shows, I got to, um, talk to the people who are listening to the music.
You brought up something interesting, mentioning that artists these days, they have to learn how to be influencers. I think the
Yeah,
perception is, it's easier because it's easier to connect and to put yourself out there to be seen. But at the same time, it's another layer of sort of, a skill that you have to learn and more that you have to do, put on your plate every
yeah,
day, and so there's a good and the bad. So from many respects, it's more challenging that way.
100%, and I feel like if I wasn't an artist, I think I'd still have them, but I probably wouldn't tell stories and be like, "What is up, guys? Got a
Yeah.
new song." there's it's almost, like, gimmicky at some points, like, it
Yeah.
just feels like not I don't know, real, and I try to be as
Yeah.
real as I can on all of the platforms, like, I just don't want to be the, like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like,
I
I wanna be
do,
real.
yeah. Yeah, you like, you're real, you're authentic, but there's that almost like you almost have to be like this extra performer, like, to just
Yeah.
you become a little extra. I mean, it's not that you're not real, but it's like there's an
Yes.
emphasis and everything is just exaggerated, right? The exaggerated
Yeah.
version of yourself that's like, doesn't quite
Yeah.
feel, right? I know I have to do it, but like to connect and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
for
that's
sure.
true. What,
Yeah, but I Oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you really you attained such a great level of success at such a young age. What would you say has been most challenging for you on this journey?
Hmm, most challenging? Um, Gosh, there was lots of challenges. I'm trying to think of, like, the most challenges. I mean it is, like, the dream, like, getting to do this, I'm incredibly thankful, so and I'd be lying if I said there aren't challenges. There are lots of challenges, but I think the main one, I guess for me, was like putting myself out there because I was shy as a kid. Like I loved music, I loved performing, but the idea of like talking on a stage was like super frightening. Even doing stuff like
Yeah.
this was like super frightening. Like I couldn't put together the words of like how to even describe myself. And
Wow.
so I was so glad that I had a good team around me to be like, I need help like finding myself, and they helped me do that and they made me do all the work, but they put me in situations where it forced me to like find who that girl is, especially
Yeah.
being on stage of like who I am on stage as a performer and on social media and um I feel like just I don't know, putting my heart on the line in songs too. That's super
Mm.
difficult. It comes with a lot of challenges, but in the end, it's all worth it.
It takes a lot of courage because you're right. If you have sort of like honed the skill of performing, you get up there, you sing, you perform. I mean, that alone is monumental.
Yeah,
But then being able to, there's so many people they have like it's like a stage fright and they're nervous as
yeah,
speakers. That's a whole new level. And then to actually talk about yourself, I mean, something you had to grow through. I mean,
yeah.
that takes a lot of courage to do that. That's an incredible. That's wow.
Thanks.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
you're
it was
you're
really hard, especially at a young age. It was I mean, I wasn't pressured, but I felt pressure from myself to try
mm,
and just 'cause there's competition everywhere you look in Nashville. There's, like, really great singers, and there's always gonna be somebody that is you think is a level up than you and I felt like I had to quickly do it, but it is a process, I've learned as well. Um,
mm.
and your path is your path, it doesn't matter. So I took time to grow, and I'm still taking time to grow, I feel like.
Do you remember the moment when you actually met your I don't wanna say mentor or, like, just, like, your idol, where you were somebody you admired, in a musical space for a long time and
Mhm.
and you actually get to meet them? What was that like?
So, I have, like 3 moments, because I have, like, a top 3 of, like, who's my favorite. So I haven't met Carrie Underwood yet, and I really wanna meet her. Um, and then I got to meet, Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood,
Wow.
at the Grand Ole Opry one time, and that was just insane. And then recently, I went to the CMT Awards, and, I did carpet, and I was doing, like, the hosting stuff, And so I got a taste of what that was. That's really hard. And
No kidding.
this
Wow.
publicist comes along, and it's, me and another girl, Lily Pearl Black, who's Clint Black's daughter, but she was doing, like, the hosting thing too on the carpet, and so we were kinda buddy, like, "Hey, I'm over here,
Yeah.
I gotcha," you know? And, this publicist comes over, and she's like, "Okay, Keith Urban's coming in about 3 minutes, and he's only gonna talk to both of you, so be ready." And she just walks away, and I look at Lily, and I'm like, "Is this happening? Is this happening right now?" And so he comes over, and he's talking to Lily, and I can kinda like, I'm just watching him. And
Oh my
he
god.
comes over to me, and, I asked the outlet I was with, Country Now, like, "Is there anything, like, you want me to talk about?" And she goes, "It's all you. Say whatever you want." And I'm like, "Okay."
Um,
So
like,
I
okay.
alright. So when I was little, I loved Keith Urban, and when I'd eat breakfast, I loved listening to music. And so Somebody Like You by Keith Urban was always my oatmeal song. And so I
That's
told him that,
cute.
and he was like, "Dang, now every time I sing that song, I'm gonna think about oatmeal."
That was a way
I'm
to
like,
make
"You're
yourself memorable. There we go. There we go. Oatmeal, that's right,
I
Keith
guess
Urban
so.
and oatmeal. Yeah. That you
Yeah,
know what though? I mean, you had to think on a fly, right? It's not like you had
it's
time to
hard.
prepare for it.
No, and I just wasn't expecting it, like, I didn't know he was gonna be there, and
Yeah.
I've heard he smells good too, so I was, like, sniffing, I couldn't smell anything. But I've heard he
Mhm.
smells good, so I wish I
But you
could've
you can smell
smelled
it.
him
You
more.
can smell him though.
I couldn't
You
smell
can
anything, I don't know, maybe I had allergies or something, but I couldn't smell him.
That's too
I was
funny.
sniffing and sniffing, we were taking a picture and everything, and I was like like, it was
Oh
so
my
bad.
gosh,
But
it's
yeah,
funny.
I that's like a highlight of my life now is meeting Keith Urban.
Wow. No, that's a pretty damn good highlight. Look, I mean, this is really incredible because we're freestyling. This is not pre-rehearsed. So, you're
Yeah,
just being completely yourself, and this is really fascinating. And I really admire, people who just go after it. So what's next for
thanks.
you? What are you working on?
So I have a EP coming out March 31st, and the pre-save is out right now. So everybody go pre-save it. And it's called Get to Know Me, and there's a song on it called Get to Know Me, and it's probably one of the most vulnerable songs I've ever put out. And this project, I've never been more excited to put music out than this project I'm about to put out. It has Small Town Spinning on it, like you mentioned. There's a new song called How It's Gonna Go on there, and 2 other songs people haven't heard yet, and I'm excited for it. And then I get to go back to
Um,
CMA Fest, right
oh,
after
that
it
is
releases,
exciting.
so yeah.
Why this particular one? Why are you so excited about it? What about it that's different?
I think 'cause Get to Know Me, the song is so real to me that now I know what Taylor Swift felt like before releasing
Mm,
songs. And I'm like, "Ooh, this is like I'm nervous," you know? Um, and I feel like I'm always honest in my songs, but I've never been this honest. And so it's just
wow.
such a real situation, and I've started to tease it on, like, TikTok and Instagram, and people have really gravitated towards it and have related to it as well. But the hook is you don't get to know me, and it's protecting, yourself and your healing journey and taking people out of your life who are damaging to it.
Mm,
And so just protecting your bubble, basically. So that's why I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I mean, it really there's such a great meaning, to your songs and this one in particular. It's almost like you're emptying yourself, um,
Yeah.
out, you're putting yourself out there. Oh my gosh, that's super exciting. I'm so thrilled. So what do you do when you're not writing or performing? What are you into?
Um, ooh, I'm trying to think. I mean, my small group and I have a ball like league that we made up. So
That's
I love to
cool.
play like pickleball and I love hanging out just with my friends and I do love like going to concerts or I love being outside, like going for a good hike. Nashville's got some good trails. I love to bake. I do have a killer pumpkin chocolate chip cookie recipe that
Yeah.
I always make in the fall, and I bring it to label and everything. It's like my famous cookies, basically. Um,
Mm.
I love to paint, like, I'm super creative, like, anything like that creative-wise, I'm totally into, but yeah.
That sounds I can smell those cookies right now.
I
Oh.
know, right? Funny story about those cookies, I actually made them when I was in kindergarten. It's my kindergarten teacher's recipe, and I kept the paper my whole life because I just always made 'em. And so they're Mrs. Andrews'
Cool.
famous pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, such a long title. But yeah.
That is so cool. Wow. Do you binge on any shows?
Ooh. I mean, my favorite TV show of all time is Friends.
Oh,
I
yeah.
will relate everything to a Friends episode, anything and everything. And I love The Office. I love shows that I can leave on in the background and, every time I can come back and have a little laugh and then, um, but probably those 2 shows are, like, my favorite.
Oh, they have so many episodes. You pretty much you grew up
Yeah,
on it, right? It's like it feels like you have your
100%.
friends in it, right? It with you at all times.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like I just relate to each and every one of them, especially on Friends in a different way. And now being in my early 20s, I'm like, "Oh, I get what she was saying there." You know?
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
really get it.
That's funny. Yeah, because you sort of evolve, like, with it, right? It's like, "Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't get it then. Now I get it. Okay."
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This has been like, you're really an inspiring human being, and I'm so thrilled,
Thank you.
to be able to share your story, and, definitely, we'll have you back. We'll be watching your
Yes.
journey, and, yeah, thank you so much, for being on a show
Thank
here with
you.
us today.
Ah, this is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And to our viewers and listeners, to dive deeper into MaRynn Taylor's music and to follow her, make sure that you click on her bio links below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast. Follow us on all social media links. And until next time, keep exploring, dreaming, and listening to great music.